Okay, and I think we are now live. Hi, everybody. Welcome to a Branch of Laurel's interview. My name is Ashaxi, and I am a member of the Order of the Laurel from the Kingdom of Vontier. And my guest tonight is Dame Gwen the Potter, who is also a member of the Order of the Laurel, Kingdom of Vontier. Welcome.
Thank you.
Hi. Please share with us your SCA origin story.
Okay. Many years ago, actually, it was when my daughter was only 13 months old. My husband was doing a little side job selling rainbow vacuum cleaners. And he actually had an appointment with somebody on base, and it turned out to be somebody in the SCA because we could tell because he had a yurt put up in his yard. He was drying it out after an event. And then he went in to talk to him. They didn't talk about vacuum cleaners at all. The guy was into D&D and into the SCA, and they talked and talked and talked. And the next weekend was June Fair weekend. So we went to June Fair when it was at the Silver Spurs Saddle Club. And we just day tripped that day, but we were hooked at that point. And then my next event was later in the summer at South Sound Unity, which I have very fond memories of because it was very magical sitting around the campfire in the evening and listening to all the people at all their encampments with the drums and the singing and the talking. That was at River Glen campgrounds years and years ago. It was really a fun experience, and from that point on, we were hooked. And of course, I didn't do anything for the first 4 or 5 years because Bridget was so young. So I constantly had to keep an eye on her.
So we're talking like 19 years ago?
Let's try 24 years ago.
She's 24?
Yeah.
Holy cow.
Actually, 23 years ago because she was 1. Yeah, that's I still think of myself as a newcomer, but I've been in for 20 years. 24 years. You know, we weren't members for the first couple of years, and we've been members ever since. So hard carrying member for 21 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. I think so. Was that before or after 30th year?
After. It was right after 30th year. I heard all about it.
I think you and I were laureled on the same day.
Yes, we were.
In the same court. And I think that we probably started about the same year.
Could be. It was 1997 when I started.
Yeah. I think it was 95 or 96, but my first couple of years were really spotty. So yeah. I don't know.
A child, it's really hard. And the SCA can do all they can for youth and children and stuff, but the parent still has to be there with them. So if you do the stuff for the youth, the parent loses out. If you do the stuff for the parent, the youth loses out. So it's kind of a no-win situation. Bridget made it through fine, and now she's the game minister for our barony because she loves games.
Oh, and she's still interested in the SCA.
Yeah, she is. And she wasn't, she's into games and stuff, online games. So she only plays, and she'll go camping with us and that type of thing. She loves June Fair, and she goes to fighter practices when we're going to fighter practice and sets up games and plays with people.
So for people who don't know what June Fair is, do you want to talk about what it is?
June Fair is one of the largest public demos in the SCA, at least on the West Coast. We have 3,000 or 4,000 SCA members who could show up, and how many people I don't even know show up from the surrounding area. It's a major camping event for us. And then we do the fighting, and we have court, and it's all public, and we put our best foot forward, put our best face forward for the public to try to, get people interested in the SCA and share what we learn. My favorite part of June Fair is the Artisans Village, because for the past several years, we have created an Artisans Village with period tents and people doing things in a period manner. We have the flax demo, we have painting demos, we have had paper making demos, we have the mine is a pottery demo. I set up my pottery wheel, and there's wood turning, and all kinds of things. So that you can just walk around and you watch people doing things. It's that immersion that I just love about the SCA. That's what I really, really get my kicks out of is that doing the demos and sharing that. I mean, I was a merchant for years. Years I merchanted. Merchanting pottery is hard work because you have to haul all that around. I don't merchant really anymore. I enjoy hauling around the heavy kick wheel more and people what I'm doing. Looking at things is fine, but showing people how it happens, that's where the magic is.
And what got you started on that path of taking a wheel to an event?
It was something I wanted to do when I first started. I was a potter. I could do pottery when I first started. I was a military wife, so I moved around a lot. From the time I graduated, when I learned pottery in college. From the time I graduated to when I moved up here, um, I moved around a lot, so I didn't get to do a lot of pottery. When I got here and got married to Rich, and we got the house and we had the baby, I got a kiln. It was a deal we made. He wanted a baby. I wanted a kiln. In order to do that, we had to have a house. So we got the house. He got me a kiln. I got pregnant. We all made out exactly what we wanted. And then shortly after that, we found the SCA. And what the SCA did for me was gave me a focus on my pottery. I mean, I was just doing things. And then all of a sudden, I'm focusing on a time period. I'm focusing on specific things. I wasn't great when I wasn't really good when I first started, but over the years, I've learned so much, and that focus on an SCA time period and really studying that time period really has improved my pottery. Now I can go and do other things, and I have more skills than I had before. So it's been a constant learning experience, and I really am grateful for the SCA to be able to do that.
Did you have a mentor from the beginning, or how did
Not in
you?
the beginning. I can't remember what year it was that I went to my very first arts and sciences single entry. And the thing that really got me in arts and sciences was when I discovered the pipkin, the three-legged cooking pot. My very first arts and sciences single entry was a pipkin. And Morgana, Dame Morgana, she wants to be called Dame now. Dame Morgana of the Woodlands in Idaho was one of my judges. And I had the little pipkin, and I had a little plate, and I had some charcoal, and I lit it on fire, and the water in my little pipkin started steaming, and it was wonderful. And it was a real basic pipkin, and it wasn't a great little pipkin. I still have it somewhere. It's broken now, but I keep the pieces. And that's what got me started on arts and sciences in the SCA, is the pipkin. And then I found the picture in the Romance of Alexander of a woman eating something over a portable fire in a pipkin in a bedchamber. And that was like, that is spectacular. So of course I had to make one of those. And then I had to make it so that I could do demos with cooking over the fire. And I love cooking in the pottery over a brazier. It's another one of those demos that I like to do, especially at Iron and Ink every year. We break out all the foodies, go out, and we set up several braziers and we cook. And I bring as much pottery as I can.
Is that one of your favorite events every year?
I have two favorite events: June Fair and Iron and Ink. Because, or was it Embers and Ambrosia? Oh my God, I can't remember. There's so many of them. The one in the spring. It has to be Embers and Ambrosia because Iron and Ink is in Idaho, I think. Anyway, I go there every year that I can. I was going to go this last year and actually camp, and I was going to bring the pottery demo, but that got pushed aside.
Yeah.
Because my wheel has been getting better and better, because for years it was an old clunker that was the flywheel was 2 pieces of plywood with bricks in it. And just a couple years ago, we did a cement flywheel, which makes it even heavier. My next step is I'm going to redo it and put it on a small trailer, and it's going to be permanent because it's too hard to get it on and off the trailer. I like to do things in which that if I had to, I could set everything up by myself. I don't like to have to think that I'll get somebody to help me at the event. That doesn't always happen.
No, and that's stressful.
Yeah, I need to be independent. That's my next step over the next year, is to make it a permanent structure on a small trailer so I can drag it along with me. And that means I can make the wheel heavier so that it has more centrifugal force, so it's easier to throw with. I started that, I think it's been like 5 or 6 years now that I finally had enough money to start collecting all the things. I made a canvas and wood tent. I make my own tents. I don't buy them. And then I have a friend who does woodworking who helps me with making the wheel and redoing it when I need it. And he made me shelves and tables and things to go in the demo area.
It's such a huge undertaking. It's amazing.
It is, and I don't know how many more years I'll be able to do it because it is extremely difficult.
Yeah. Yeah. Was there like a huge learning curve for you going from, I'm assuming that you learned in college on an electric wheel, mm-hmm. Yeah. And then going to a kick wheel. What's that like? What's the difference?
Well, I learned on a kick wheel too, because we had kick wheels in college, and I have an electric assist kick wheel and a small electric wheel. There is a learning curve when I take the non-electric wheel to demos. It's much slower, so you have to go much slower when you're throwing, and it's harder to get things centered, so you can't really throw large things. The electric wheel is much better for doing large things. So at demos I just do small things, and because otherwise I'd be sitting there struggling with it all the time, and you would never see anything created.
Right, and people like to get a quick hit.
Oh yeah, at the demos, people want to see you throw. So it's nice because Morgana always comes out for June Fair, and now I have an apprentice who actually does pottery. So I have the three of us now, and then there's another person in our area who likes to do pottery, and I'm going to get her more involved. So that gives me 4 people that can take turns on the wheel throwing, because it's when you have the people coming up, they don't want to see you just sitting around. You need to be throwing, and they don't care about the trimming that much. Usually Sunday day of trimming, people want to see the thing being created. I can understand that. The kinetic mystery. Everybody likes to see the things that are moving.
It'd be, I'm sitting here smirking because I think it would be really fun to have a bunch of ladies sitting around pulling handles too.
Yeah, well, handles brings out the 13-year-old in all of us. Yeah,
I'm 12.
When I was doing single entries in A&S, that would be my go-to demo, because you have these things and if everybody wants to see it happen. So I bring some jugs in various stages so I can show the different stages from leather hard to bone dry to bisque to completely finished. And the leather hard one, I would pull a handle for the jug, and I'm pulling a handle, and of course there were no 13-year-olds, but you would think there were. You just get
awesome.
You play wet and you just keep pulling.
Duchess Dagmare has a question. She would like to know about your experiences making Kingdom Largesse and what you get out of it. She says you are one of the most generous largesse creators in the kingdom, and that's true.
Well, Duchess Dagmare gave me my court barony, and I always say I got that in the period way. I bribed her.
With lots of little pots.
Lots of little pots. When I realized, actually, way back when, Skepti and Asa got me started on doing largesse. Somehow the word got that they needed largesse, and I didn't really quite understand what largesse was, so I made some bowls for them to take to Pennsic. I made some bowls. Bowls. I was like, now I know that was not the right thing. It needed to be small, but they got me started. And in fact, they gave me my AOA, and then a few months later, my Jams. And then 6 years later, they gave me my Laurel. So I have a soft spot in my heart for them. But that got me on the road to making largesse. I mean, every rain that I can, I realized I needed to make small things. And one year, not too long after that, I think it was Bridget Ross needed some little bitty cups as thank yous. So I did like 30 little cups with her with little designs on them. And right after she I think that was when she made Pelican, she wanted to give thank yous out. Right after that, one of the crowns said, I saw what you did. I'd like some of those too. So I made a bunch of little cups. And now that's my standard go-to is the little bitty cups with or without decoration. And I've moved to little tiny jugs. They take more time because you have to put little handles on them or little pitchers. But the little cups, especially since the crowns these days really like to do the cup and the cap thing. The cups are the go-to thing, but now I can do them in my sleep almost.
How long do you think it takes you per cup to do?
Well, it takes me about 3 minutes to do a cup, to throw it.
Right.
You have to let it dry, and trimming it is a breeze, a couple minutes per cup. Okay. But then you have to wait for it to dry again, and then you have to bisque it, and then you have to glaze it, which takes several minutes, and then you have to put it back in the kiln and you got to fire it. So it takes to make one just a few minutes per cup. Of course, when you're doing a whole lot of them, that creates a lot of time.
Yeah.
But the reality is, it takes me years because I have to have all that experience behind me to be able to throw that thing as fast as I do. When I first started doing them, it wasn't fast. Now it's really fast because I got the muscle memory in my fingers to do that. But the other things I like to do though is make the little bitty, when I've discovered the St. Minas flasks, the little bitty flasks, I took them to Baronio A&S and
do you want me to pull up pictures of those?
Sure. I mean, the little flasks with the lion head on them.
Okay.
Those are based on the St. Minas flask. And I decided, well, we needed Pilgrim's flasks for Dragon's Lair and for on tier. So I started creating. Oh, there's.
So I'm going to just forward through until we find those flasks, and then we'll talk. Well, here, so these are your largesse cups.
Yeah, those are their standard largesse cups. And if anybody's ever thinking about doing, I am lucky. I can do something that's fast and easy for me. And because when you fill up a kiln, you need to fill up the kiln. It doesn't take up much space to fill in the spots. So I'm real lucky that I have something I can do for largesse. But if anybody's planning on doing anything for largesse, I cannot emphasize enough to put a little card in there that says who you are and what kingdom and what barony or branch you're with. Because no, you don't get thanked that often from the individual who receives it. But you sure ain't going to hear from them if you don't let them know who you are. And I have gotten emails from all across the country because sometimes this stuff makes it to Penzic or someone's visiting and they get something. But I don't expect a thank you from who these go to. That people's lives are too busy.
Yeah. I always tell people when they want to do largesse, I kind of stop them and I say, okay, what is it you want out of doing largesse? Because it's not a high visibility, high appreciation feedback thing.
Oh yeah. You have to, I don't like to sit gate. I don't like to autocrat. I will be a co-autocrat. I will be your helper. But I don't like to sit gate or man the parking lot or do any of those things. Largesse is my way to contribute to the SCA. And I can't even imagine how much money I have put toward these in order to give something to almost every crown since I started doing these.
Yeah.
Look back at some of my pictures and I can't believe how much pottery I've done over the years that I don't have anything to show for. Now that
I'm gonna find the other little and then we'll come back and go through all these.
Okay.
It's in here somewhere. Sorry.
We first
are not. There they are.
There they are. Those little things are only about 3 inches tall. These are unglazed because I use a black clay to make them. They are not thrown; they are molded. I have two-sided molds that I use, and then I hand pull the handles. Um, but the lion's head is a sprig mold that I use for that. Um, I thought that was the best thing for Kingdom Largesse because a cup is lovely. I mean, pictures is really nice, but these are cool. I mean, somebody gets these, this is on tier. And so if you're giving it to a visiting person visiting from another kingdom, it's like, oh, look what I got from on tier. And I love them. They are pilgrim's flasks. You could fill them with a little bit of dirt and keep it as a reliquary, or a little bit of water, or you just hang it on your belt and put a little tiny bit of your favorite tasty beverage to have during court.
And is that a little wax linen top?
Wax linen top. I used to use corks. It's hard because each one is different. I mean, yet because I do it in a mold doesn't mean I get the spout the same every single time.
Right.
And the leather in the wax linen works so well. I mean, you can just warm it in your hands to reseal it if you need to.
And it looks so it's just good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The same type of thing. I have one with the baronial device, so I do it for Dragon's Lair too. If I get really fancy, I'll paint Dragon's Lairs, but that's a lot of work. Oh
yeah.
my, a lot of work. All those little bitty red and black. It's way more difficult than I want to do for largesse.
Yeah.
That's quick and dirty. These take much longer than I would really like them to, and I'm always looking for ways to make a shortcut of them. But I won't stop doing them because they are so cool. I love them. And I have my card attached to them because that's what you do. Every single thing. You don't turn in a box of largesse and put one thing. These are all from me. No, you put something on every item. It doesn't have to be tied to it. It can be inside, taped down.
Yeah, I've never tagged any of the largesse I've done.
How will anybody know who got what from whom?
Yeah, I really appreciate what you do. It's amazing. Do you want to go through some more photos?
Sure, you can go through the
here. Okay.
Those are the little tiny jugs. That's about the same size as the little ampullae. Again, something for your favorite tasty beverage. I love the. You can also use them for like spices and stuff like that. They're great in your camp kitchen.
Are the cards that are on them, are those standard business card size just for sizing, or are they smaller?
These are actually, I think, these are business cards cut in half.
Okay.
Because I used to have used business cards, but those are huge. So I created on my computer 2 on 1, and I just cut them in half. I've even done them so that one business card has 4 little cards on it.
Wow.
How big I want to make the card, because you don't need much. I just want them to know who I am and where I'm from.
Yeah.
Okay, this is one of my favorite type of things to do. This is a donut pitcher. The way you throw that round part is you throw it and you open it in the center, so you have a ring of clay, and then you open the ring and pull it up and close it, so you have a hollow ring. And then you take it off and you trim it when it's dry enough, and then you add the lid and the foot and handles, or you turn it into a jug or whatever you want. And then this one was for a laurel, not for a ceremony, but as a gift to someone who was elevated. So I put their arms and the laurel wreath on there.
I've watched videos of people making these, and I cannot wrap my head around it.
I should do a demo on a when I get my studio back. I'll do a demo on making the donut pitchers, because they're really awesome. I did one that was just ones hanging from your belt for several people. One of them is for Master Rontius. I mean, it was big. It's like round one, and I have his wyvern holding a pen carved on it, and it's
Wow.
lovely. It's huge, and he wears it to events. I've done quite a few. I actually sold one of these with the laurel leaves to somebody on the East Coast. Packing that sucker, I was so nervous that it wouldn't make it.
Yeah, I would be nervous to own one because in our house, I don't think it would last long. It's so beautiful.
I've done quite a few for several people. Again, I don't have one. One of these days I'll do me one. Well, this is one of my latest things. This is a log. I have a little tiny tree that I wanted to turn into a bonsai. I want to make it a bonsai garden, and I have my little forest spirits that I made that you have pictures of in here, and I need something to put that in. So there is my log with the fungus growing on it, and
I love the fungus.
it looks so nice. I really love it, and but it ended up being way smaller than I expected, so I have to make another one. This is my championship pipkin. This is a pipkin from 1400, a reproduction of a pipkin from the 1400s in Utrecht in the Netherlands. This is the piece of work that I did for Arts and Sciences Championship. Oh my God, so long ago. I won. It was when it was local. It was at the Silverdale Hotel, which is why I brought my whole setup there.
I remember.
Yeah, and it was raining. And the fun thing about this one is I made several of them because you don't ever just make one. Several in various stages, including several that were finished. Actually sold like 2 or 3 of them that day. But I needed to show the inside fabric of what it looked like compared to I have a box of shards that I got from Mark de Gockler, right? Pieces of pottery that were dug up in a place called Valkenus, no later than about 1500. So I wanted to show how the fabric of my clay compared to the fabric of other pieces of pottery from period. So I took a fully finished one and I threw it on the ground to break it, and it bounced. It didn't break. It took 3 times for me throwing it. Of course, it was grass. It wasn't cement. So it took about 3 times for me to break it so that I could show that the difference between modern clay and period clay. But it was sturdy. So this is the only one I have left. Some years ago, Sir Donnan wanted a mug with his device on it, which included a mermaid in her vanity, and I did that flat. And I love the mermaid in her vanity so much, I carved one on this mug.
It's just beautiful.
The tail wrapping around it. I have it. I keep most of my sculpture work. I do love it. And I should do some more of that. I really do enjoy doing the sculpture work.
It's super meditative.
Yeah.
I love her skirt that she's got on there.
That's based on Sir Donnan's device. It had, whoever did the drawing on that had some work on there that was really interesting. This is a reproduction in clay of a bronze aquamanile. It generally looks like that, but mine kind of sunk a little bit, but because it's not bronze, it's clay. But the point on the horse's forehead, that's with this pour spout, and the knight's helmet, that's where you fill it up. It's hollow all the way down, and an aquamanile is a jug or ewer used for either liturgical or non-liturgical ceremonies, like hand washing. I love aquamanile. I should do some more of those too.
Yeah, there are a lot of these in ancient times too, that I would love to make some as well.
I got a lovely book on aquamanile, all different kinds. Okay, this is a modern kind of piece. I had this ugly teapot. Oh my God, it was so ugly. It was just a round teapot, and I couldn't think of what I was going to do to make it look halfway decent. So I decided to create my Alice in Wonderland, kind of like a Fabergé egg. I cut the side of the teapot out and then turned the side around and put it in so that it had like a little stage, and just went crazy. You see the dormouse in the handle, and you see the caterpillar on the top. And on the other side, it's just some flowers. But I love this one too. I've had Giuseppe threaten to steal it from me because she collects teapots. But no, I'll keep this until I do a better one. I love this teapot. That is a jug that has been pit fired. I don't think this is one that I did when I did a pit firing with Mistress Morgana and or Dame Morgana in Idaho. I think this was actually done at something like a baronial picnic when we were having them on some private property that owned by Eleonora and Renard, and they allowed us to dig a pit and do some pit firing at the baronial picnic. It takes all weekend to do it, but on picnic day I was able to the kiln, and this is one of the pots that came out. And another one, a cooking pot design, standard cooking pot design. Probably could really even cook it and everything.
I love the way that the pit firing surface comes out just from how things flame around the clay.
And it would probably look really cool if I would take some wax and burnish it with wax. But then if it were used for cooking pot, it wouldn't stay.
Do you burnish before you pit fire at all, or did you just put it in?
This one was just put in there. Dame Morgana tends to burnish hers before she puts it in. It gives it a different surface.
Yeah.
No, I'm lazy. I really am. I just threw it in the pot in the hole. I do like the way it fired. Oh, there is one.
Skipped one. Sorry. Hold on.
That is a pipkin, a large pipkin, not quite a cauldron. It's good, sturdy pipkin. I've used these type on open fires on the charcoal fires. I mean, lump charcoal fires, not flaming fires, because that creates too much change in heat and cause it to rupture. But a nice steady charcoal fire, these are great because you can get the coals under it too.
They're just so cute with their little feet and their little big bellies.
Yeah, I tend to make the little feet with little toes on them. Not detailed toes, but little toes, because it's cute. Get my cuteness in there somewhere. So this is this is my bonsai tree, and this is one of my forest spirits from Princess Mononoke. Created a bunch of these little forest spirits and wanted specifically for my bonsai tree. And I know a lot of people want them, and I've tried to make them again. There is the bonsai tree with the little forest spirits. I've tried to create them again. They're hard to make. I did about 10 of them. We'll go back one. There we go. There it is. I'd love to make a bunch of them, but I think I have to make a mold. Because sometimes I feel like I can do things one time, and then I can't ever get back into it.
Well, you get inspired to, like, and you get that creative flow coming through, and it just.
And then when you do it for money, it becomes work and you don't want to do it.
Yeah. That's why I don't do commissions.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, that's just a close-up of my period wheel. Well, with modern wheel head, but it's on my wooden cake wheel.
With your hand-done eyelets.
Oh, yeah.
On your.
Oh yeah, that was I spent hours hand doing the eyelets and the card woven trim around it, and the inside is hand finished, and look at what I do with them. But that dress is years and years old. I won't wear a brand new one to throw pottery, but I will, eventually they end up being work dresses, and it washes out.
But that is some next level authenticity.
Yeah. Yeah. There is my latest iteration of my demo tent. Well, not the latest. I have since I did this, I took the two awnings and put them together, so it's one awning in the front because I can't leave anything alone. But all of these benches, they were made by Sir Cedric, and I created them some pottery for them, and so they're great for sitting out here. All of there you can see the pottery wheel, and then you see my wedging table. Those are all made by Michael Brumbar, Lord Brumbar.
Is that Morgana at the wheel?
Her wheel, yeah. And Since the new things that I've added, I have a couple of chairs that I commissioned with the tray pottery from Alistair, and I love them, and I haven't been able to. I haven't been able to use them since last June fair.
Oh,
Got them, but I create a little porch in my tent, and I put the two chairs there, and I put our banner behind it, and it's a nice little setup. I really enjoy this, and I'm an RVer, or I was. We don't have an RV anymore, but I love this, and I will camp in that tent if I'm going to do a demo because I like to be near my stuff.
yeah. Oh, of course. Yeah. Yeah. That's just great. And I even love, is this a little jug for water for people to
Well, no, it's just a jug.
just to show off?
Episode of Father or Brother Cadfile, right? You remember Brother Cadfile?
Uh-huh.
Yeah. One of the episodes was called The Potter's Field. And there was a pottery there, right? A potter. And in front of his house, there wasn't a sign. There was that jug hanging in front. That's my homage to Brother Cadfile.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I knew there was a story there.
Yeah. Many years ago, I was asked by the Ladies of the Rose to make dinnerware for the Penzic, for them to leave at the trailer at Penzic. I don't know if they still use these, but that is the sets. I had two sets of on-tier dinnerware for the feasts at Penzic.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love stuff like this.
This is something that Bridget Ross asked me to do. She wanted a martini shaker.
Oh.
That is a period martini shaker. The spout at the bottom has holes to keep the ice from pouring out. If you put wax on the inside of that lid, it'll seal it. So when you're shaking it, you don't have liquid all over. I maybe made a dozen of these once people saw it. But everybody then had to have a martini shaker. This I got made to her after she was made a Lion of Ontier, so I put that on, and on the other side is her her badge, the Bridget's cross.
Awesome.
This was a plate that I did for Raffaella de Contini when she was made Pelican. And I cannot remember this. The wording is her motto, and I can't even remember what it is. It's in Latin.
Right. I don't know.
I don't either. And this I had made for Baron Jacques to give to his wife, and things happened, and it got back to him. So we offered it on the Knights auction last year, and it sold. Yeah.
Awesome.
I'm breaking all kinds of copyright stuff. No, it's fan art. That's what it is. Yeah, I love that. I love it. Again, cooking on the brazier. That looks like we've barely gotten started, and but the coals are hot, and that is the Dragon's Lair Baronio brazier. It is a fabulous tool. It's huge.
So it's just you just do a little area of coals. You don't do the whole thing.
Well, no, you don't, because you have to introduce the coals slowly to the pottery. So there's one area where the coals are, and sometimes you have a separate brazier where you have coals where you can bring them back and forth. But you set depending on how close the coals come to the pot is how hot everything gets. This is actually from the June Fair demo. This is the culinary people using I tend to give them pottery almost every year so that they can cook on it.
See, I've had little kids in the SCA for the last 17 years, pretty much. Not really, but the last maybe 2 or 3. And I've gotten into such a habit of not cooking at events at all. We just eat out of the cooler. That all of this is completely foreign to me.
Yeah. Yep.
And super cool.
Yeah. I mean, it is an undertaking. All right, this is, probably did this as a prize, largesse in a way, but it is big largesse. This one, of course, went to the kingdom. it is a full-size flask, probably total about 10 inches tall. The circumference is probably about 7 inches, or the diameter is probably about 7 inches across with the onto your badge on it. This is not a mold. This is me. This is, again, like when I was talking about creating the donut. Well, it's not a donut, but it's you throw a bowl and then you close it in on itself and create a pillow, and then you add the spout and the handles. Then I hand model the design on it. I've done a lot of these for different people who said, I want one of those, or I might do it as a thank you to a crown, special gift to different people that I love, or sometimes they're trades.
Very cool.
This is sculpture. This is where I should have stopped with this particular sculpture. This was going to be a goblet. The top would be the tree, and the stem is the dryad, and then the roots, the bottom were roots. And this is where I should have stopped, but I took it further. Then I painted it, and I have it, and I like it fine, but I love this. I wish I had stopped, and I would not have used anything but a clear glaze on it.
Yeah, it's got great texture.
Yeah.
Just the way it is.
Just a suggestion.
Yeah.
It just suggests something. Whenever I try to get too detailed, I tend to overwork. So
it reminds me of some of the drawings that Laurelyn's doing right now for school.
Yep. Yeah, it does.
You guys must be friends or something.
Yeah. If I did that before she started doing what she's doing. 5 years old. This was a special thing I did for my friend Saruko and her husband Bernie, because they were into
Stargate.
Stargate. You recognized it.
Oh yeah, I'm a geek.
That's a Chepai, and I gave it to him for his Christmas present one year.
I super love this. I think it's great.
Yeah. There's the largesse again.
Okay. Did we go through? Oh no, we haven't gone through.
Okay. This one would be a prize, a June Fair prize. I tend to do prizes for June Fair. We have the different competitions that, not competitions, whatever they're called. The heavy and the rapier and the archery and all that. And I tend to donate prizes. It's usually something like the flask or a set of dinner, feast gear with the baronial badge on it, on a goblet and a bowl and a goblet, a bowl, and a plate.
They do prizes for volunteer hours as well, too.
Oh, yeah. Whatever, I actually, what I generally do is donate, here's stuff from me, and they use it for whatever they need it to use. There's another pipkin.
And a ton of plates, and I'm pointing at it like you can tell what I'm pointing at. A ton of plates and bowls and
just stuff.
Oh, what am I doing? Hold on a minute. There we go.
I don't remember whose that was. I think that was Saruko's sister or somebody in Florida. She wanted something for their Christmas presents. I think that's what that was. Again, everything was modeled on it.
So it's a Knight Laurel couple.
A Knight. Yeah, I think they were both together. A Knight and a Laurel. Husband and wife. This one is Master Arians, actually. Proto-Baron Arians did that. Oh, I love this so much.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, it's so Greek.
The draping, it just looks like carved marble.
Yep.
Just beautiful. There you are.
This is early June Fair when we were still at Port Gamble.
Are you not at Port Gamble anymore?
No, we haven't been at Port Gamble for several years. Port Gamble had a 5-year plan, and that has now gone out the door. But we started, June Fair has been at a place right across from the Bremerton Airport.
Oh, that moon crater.
Make craters of the moon.
Right.
Except that I don't think it's going to be there next year. The June Fair team is working on a different location. It just isn't conducive. Um, and it could be the fairgrounds. Who knows? I don't know. I'm not on the June Fair team, so I just, wherever they point me, that's where I go.
I clearly have not been to June Fair in far too long. I think the last time I went was at Port Gamble, and I just went to fit costumes to Royals.
You really
So
need to come to June Fair sometime and play in the village.
I do. I would love to come and throw. That would be so much fun.
You know, you want to.
I know, and I've been saying that for years too.
There's the beginning of the little forest spirits.
Go back.
Going ahead of me.
Here we go. Sorry.
They're not even fired yet. That was just right after I made them. I just love them.
They're so cute.
I do, but you know, they're just so cute. This was also done for Proto Baron Arion a couple years ago. He had a picture of a sculpture that he wanted me to recreate, and I recreated. It's probably a third of the size of the sculpture, but it's a man playing a harp, and I can't remember what time period it was, but I just made it for him, and it's the porcelain.
Nice.
That's it. There's no glaze on it or anything.
Is this a snake head? It almost looks like an Ouroboros.
It's a snake head, yeah.
That's really cool.
Its own tail.
I might have to ask him what the deal is with that at some point.
This is Master Arontius's circlet, which I have right here because it got dropped and there's several feathers that are broken. So I actually am going to redo the whole thing. I'm going to do new feathers for it. And I got to get around to doing it. But yes, I sculpted the pelican and attached the feathers. This is a linen headband. And you would think this sucker would be heavy, but it isn't that heavy when you're wearing it on your head. And he loves it. So.
And are all the feathers glazed too?
Yeah, each feather's glazed on one side. And actually, I can glaze them on both sides because they're basically beads. They have a hole in one side. I don't think you can see how I sew the beads on. So I have bead racks, so I could glaze. This is porcelain, and I would glaze it in clear and hang it on the bead rack in the kiln. So the pole goes through the hole.
And the circlet you're wearing is the same, but laurel leaves, right?
Yeah, same type of thing, but just laurel leaves. He saw mine and he said, "Can you do that with feathers?" Sure, I can do that with feathers. I can do anything, but I got to fix it for him. It's on my in my site, so I don't forget about it. This is for Anharat's ceremony where she rendered her. She was fealty to Charles.
Oh, okay.
And this was for her not breaking the fealty ceremony before she was elevated. So they wanted to do a hand washing ceremony. So I said, I make a bowl and a pitcher. So this is a stylized laurel wreath with the purple, which is her colors.
Awesome.
This is a new thing I'm doing. I saw somebody demo that on YouTube. YouTube is a wonderful thing. Making the handles with all the extra little curly cues and stuff, and I've fallen in love with that, and I will be doing more like that. Again, a modern thing, but just SCA enough to be cool, and great presents. People just love stuff like this. A goblet, like I happen to have one right here. A goblet is nice, but you add a handle on something, and it becomes something else. And when you add decoration to the handle, it's like,
yeah, and this is something that somebody like a not SCA person could come into June Fair and fall in love with and buy too.
Yep. It probably wouldn't fall in love with the price I would have to charge for it, though.
Well, then they don't know what handcrafting's all about.
Here's another one. I don't remember who it's for, but this is where I started going off the shield. You know, instead of staying, following their design absolutely from the roll of arms, I base it on there, roll arms, and this thing has a lot of three-dimensional aspects to it. And I give it more life that way. And you know, the little grapes are just they're totally three-dimensional. They're just pasted on there.
So cool.
Yeah. It's just a kiln, an unloaded kiln. Most of this being largesse.
Wow.
Lots of little jugs, and some of the cups you see, I have designs on them. I actually have some stamps that Laurel and I made. We both made some stamps, and I don't use them much, so I need to start using them more often and decorate, because again, it's like putting a handle on it. You get a little plain little cup, but you put some design on it, it becomes something special.
Yeah, it's just makes it next level.
Mm-hmm.
And then we're back to this. And I think that's all the pictures.
Yeah.
Very cool. Okay, I'm going to stop screen sharing.
Okay.
There we go.
So that was a long answer to largesse question.
But that was a good little path to follow down. So we were talking about who mentored you. Did you end up actually apprenticing to Dame Morgana?
Yeah. Dame Morgana asked me to be her apprentice at Haywas years ago when it was at the Doubletree.
Mm-hmm.
And I had no clue what being an apprentice meant. I mean, I had gone to A&S things. I knew about laurels. I always said to myself, there is no way I am ever going to get as good as these people, because I don't want to work that hard. And I would look at the stuff that I would see in arts and sciences competitions and go, oh my God, there's no way I can do that. My stuff is too plain. It's utilitarian. It is not beautiful. It's not highly decorated. So I had no clue what it meant for Morgana to ask me to be her apprentice, and some friends say, oh my God, she asked you to be your apprentice? That's really unusual. I thought, oh, I don't know. She's been great, and working with her, I have to say it was fully formed because I already knew how to do pottery, and I had been doing it for years and years. So it made it easier for us to work the long distance relationship, me in Silverdale, Washington, her in Moscow, Idaho. We only saw each other at events, big events that she would come to. And then she started coming to June Fair, but that was after I was laureled. I drove over there. I've been over there once. I need to go more times when we can actually visit. We're just good friends, and she'll always be my laurel regardless. And so when she comes over to June Fair, I make sure that she is taken care of. She doesn't have to bring anything except her clothes and herself and any pottery that she wants to sell. I set everything up for her, because that's what you do to your laurel.
Yeah.
And it's been great. And then the next event, we were going to the next big event, and it happened to be at the Doubletree again, probably 12th night. We were going to do a little ceremony, and get together and exchange, do the belt thing. And we tried to catch each other all weekend long. And she was, I think, looking at schools in Seattle for one of her kids, and we couldn't get. So the last day, Sunday of June of the event, we were in modern clothes, and we meet in the hallway and said, "We're just going to have to do this now." We just grabbed whoever happened to be in the hallway and did a real quick ceremony. And she gave me the green belt, and it was pretty low key, which was like our relationship. We were very easygoing. And she gave me a little direction, but it's pretty much, I just automatically reported to her everything I was doing, all events I went to, what I was doing in them. Whenever I had entered competitions, she would look at my, before I would even look at them, I would give her my score sheets so that she would look at them first and get mad if it was something to get mad at, and be able to explain it to me and all that kind of stuff. And I never had bad score sheets, so I never had a real issue with that. But she did try to take care of me.
That's awesome. So competitions are something that you seem to enjoy a lot.
Well, I used to. I'm kind of past that now. I do like to enter a competition every now and then if I have something new and fun to show. But yeah, single entries are fabulous, and I have all my documentation from every entry that I've done, and I it's like writing a paper. I never thought I would use those skills that I learned in high school for writing papers. That's what I got. And so since then, I tend to every now and then offer a training, a class at the local level on how to enter, and not so much how to enter an arts and sciences competition, how to do documentation for arts and science competition, not how to research it. But once you have your research, this is how you put it together, and this is how you display it, and this is uh, what you need to do in order to present it. And it's all just based on what my experience has been. And my experiences entering competitions has always been good. I haven't won every single one that I've entered. No one should ever feel like they win everything they enter.
Yeah.
I enjoy presenting something that I love like that. But you do need to know what you're talking about when you're presenting. That's what I tell everybody. You can't fake your way through it. These people know when you're just trying to put something past them.
And you need to know what you're competing to, what your criteria is that you're going to be judged on.
Yeah, I never paid attention to that.
Really?
Never. I never ever have presented to a judging forum. I can't do that. I'm presenting to my standard. Uh, and it's the same way. I do it the same way all the time. I know that I can't do things 100% authentic because some of the stuff would kill you, and I'm not going to use lead glazes.
Mm-mm.
I don't have the benefit of creating my own glazes because I don't have the space and the desire to create my own glazes. I don't use a period wheel for most of my stuff, but I have a periodoid wheel that I can use. But I know what I need, what it should be versus what I'm presenting. And that's what I know that I have to come across to judges with is I know what it needs to look like. This is what I'm doing. This is why I'm doing it. My big thing is form. I really push the form, the shape of things versus the finished quality of it. I mean,
so more the period aesthetic
yes.
aspect.
Yeah. And I think it's just my personality is that I'm not going to get hurt if you're going to give me any kind of criticism, unless it's just uncalled for. And then I might ignore it. But I know that not everybody can take it the way I take it.
Right.
I just don't take it personally. I'm there to teach you what I know. And if you're going to teach me something in return, that's awesome. But then in the beginning, there aren't that many potters in On Tier. In the beginning, there wasn't.
Right.
So it was, the thing was me teaching everybody else who was looking at my stuff versus, more at the point, Morgana couldn't judge me because she was my Laurel.
Right.
So she would watch, but she wouldn't necessarily judge when I did something. So it's different now. There are more potters in On Tier, but not a whole lot more.
Yeah.
It kind of surprises me.
Yeah. Well, it's a hard thing to get into on a regular basis because of the equipment.
Yeah, you have to be dedicated to pottery. A lot of people say, well, why don't you teach? Well, no, I'm not going to teach. If you want to learn how to do pottery, go take a college course and learn the basics and decide whether or not you want to invest in this because it is an investment. Because I'm not going to just say, oh, here, come over and throw this. I'll show you how you need to do that. Because everybody, all they want to do is the throwing. They just want the fun part. They don't want to wedge the clay, and they don't want to do the glazing, and they don't want to afford the $3,000 kiln that you have to have, and all the other equipment, the $600 wheel, and then all the supplies that are going up in price like crazy. It's an expensive hobby, and you have to be dedicated to it. And I am not a teacher of a beginning potter. You have to, if, for instance, Lysander, who's my apprentice, he took college courses. He has the skills. He has the desire to do the period aesthetic. He has the drive to create his own pottery studio in his basement. He's working on that. That's the person that I would take as an apprentice because they're already moving in that direction.
Right.
I, if you think, oh, I just think I'd like to do pottery, that's fine. Go do a college course. Go do a community college course. Find out if that's really what you want to do because you can't have nails like that. I have no nails. If they get any kind of length, I cut them back because you're going to gouge your pottery. You can throw with it. I guess somebody could, but this is dedication.
When I took pottery in college, I already had short massage therapist fingernails, and so it was already thing. But I had to tell my daughter, you got to cut your nails if you're going to do this. So she prefers to. I have a Lockerbie kick electric assist, and she prefers to kick wheel than the electric. The electric's too fast and scary for her.
Get used to it. My new wheel, I call it my new wheel, is still several years old. It's probably 8 years old. I don't know. It's a Shimpo Whisperer. You can't hear it. And when I was throwing on my old wheel, it was drum driven. You have a little motor and it's cone driven. There's cone in there and there's a little motor that would engage on the cone somewhere and that determined what speed you were going. And you could hear it whirring around. And it whirred around faster as you went faster. So, part of your throwing was sound.
The auditory, yeah.
This Shimpo Whisper, you have to relearn because you can't hear anything. The only thing you can hear is when you're throwing a very tall jar, you can hear the wind inside the pot. But you couldn't hear before because you were listening to the sound of the wheel head as it went around. But I love my Shimpo. It is fast.
Wow.
And I tend to trim on my kick wheel. And I throw on the Shimpo and I trim on the kick wheel.
That makes sense. That totally makes sense.
Got more control. Well, you have control, but again, I'm lazy. I have it set up to trim. I have my Giffen grip on there. I very seldom remove it. And so throwing, trimming.
Well, that's just smart workshop processes. When you do a lot of work, having stations that are all set up that you don't have to retool to do the next step that's just smart.
I'm just trying to save time by not doing any additional work that I don't have to do.
Yeah. That just makes sense. So you have one apprentice now?
I have 2 apprentices. I have Talia. She's been my apprentice for years. But Lysander is my first apprentice who is actually a potter.
Okay.
He's a fighter too, but it's so hard. There's so few people that actually do pottery that, and Talia does music. I'm actually sharing her with Giuseppe. I'm really not much of a good Laurel for something like that, except to give guidance. That's it. But Lysander, I can teach. He's reached that point where now I can teach you the tricks.
Yeah, but you have so many other things to teach. You have enculturating students into the SCA culture and giving of your time and your services, and that's invaluable. That's something that I think we all need to be doing a lot more of.
Yeah, I can do that. I have a couple people I'm looking at in that respect, but I'm not trying to overwhelm myself, especially right now, because we can't do anything. We can't even get together until I get my studio back together in a couple weeks, and then Lysander will be able to come over. But it'll just be the 2 of us. I can't really have many more in there if we're going to keep social distancing, and that's only if he's comfortable.
Right. Yeah, I'm not seeing any of my apprentices right now at all either, and it kind of sucks.
But we get online and we talk, but there's only so much that really does any good.
Yeah. Yeah. There's something about that contact and that tactile learning with each other
Mhm.
that
Yeah.
is super awesome. Yeah. Anyway, um, so you also, in addition to being a Laurel and making all of this largesse, you do a lot of service too. You've held quite a few offices.
Yeah, I did in the beginning hold offices. I've been chronicler and I've been uh, Chatelaine, and I have, but only locally. I mean, the branch. Also, scribal coordinator at the very beginning, which wasn't any more than making sure everybody did what they're supposed to do. When the barony went from doing doing their scrolls and marker pens and went in to do gouache, I mean, we were actually painting scrolls. That's where I was. This was a long, long time ago, and they have far exceeded what I was doing back then. Our Scrabble community is very impressive here in the barony.
That's awesome.
Yeah, but little offices like that, and I haven't held an office a long time, but I'm kind of a permanent fixture deputy in the arts and sciences area. I mean, whoever the arts and sciences minister is, generally, okay, yeah, I'll be a deputy. I mean, and for years I was the competition deputy for whoever the arts and science officer was. So I've been involved in the ANS competition at Baronial for many years. Kind of stepping back from that, or at least I try to, because I don't want people to think that you can't do anything except what I say.
Right.
Because so that past couple of years, I haven't really been too much into that. And in fact, I entered a couple of times and can't really very well run the competition if you're the one entering.
Nope. And you do regional Laurel secretary. So.
Yeah, I'm regional Laurel secretary for Pacifica. And one time I was the Laurel secretary for the Kingdom. That was right before you. And I've been, again, deputy for Minister of ANS Frontier, but only the deputy, um, things like that. I do, usually you can see a theme here. It's all kind of related around the arts and sciences. Although for several years, I was the merchant coordinator for June Fair. Every year they needed a merchant coordinator. That's before we got the board of directors of June Fair together. I would be, and the first couple of years of when we had the board, I was the merchant coordinator. But merchanting has become very complex now. There is reporting and there is fire code that has become much more complex, and I probably won't ever be a merchant coordinator again. It is quite a job.
It's huge.
Yeah. So no, I'm not too interested in that. In fact, when I was June Fair merchant coordinator many years ago, I was talking to the IRS because not the IRS, it's the state, because I had to find out what the maximum charge you could do for a merchant space, because there were some merchants that were huge and we charged X amount per square foot. I found out at that point that you could go up to charging $199.99 before the event was considered you went to a different level. All of a sudden, if you charge more than that, then all of a sudden you had to keep track of sales licenses, and you had to keep track of how much money they spent and all this kind of stuff. And we didn't want to do that. So hard, fast rule is no charge for a merchant space for over $199.99. Site fee is not included in that. Site fee is not a merchant space.
Oh, interesting.
Be separate. Because if you had a merchant had enough helpers and they were paying for those people to be there, then you can easily go over $200. So yeah, that was the beginning of it getting way too complicated for me to deal with in a volunteer organization. I mean, there are things that are so complicated in the SCA, that being a seneschal, oh my God, being an exchequer?
Nope.
No. Nope. Yeah, Baron or Baroness. I mean, yes, we put our hats in the ring for it. But I am so glad we didn't get it.
Yeah, that's maybe it would change if my kids were out of the house, but I just don't. That's so much work for such a long time.
Oh yeah, and it's too much. It's not as complicated, I guess, except that you have to have your hand in everything. But there are things that you just have to be so careful about now.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, it feels like a minefield.
yeah, oh yeah. So I'll help. I'm a helper. Excuse me. I'm a helper. Ever Master Rontius has an event, it's just I'm on the team. I can't even not be on the team. I'll find a place for you. Fine, whatever. Won't let me help him.
But you're not going to be where the buck stops.
No, not anymore. I mean, I have autocrated events before. I autocrated a baronial ANS. It was Yule Feast many years ago. Everything was many years ago. 2 weeks before, no, let's say it, 4 weeks before, I had to have dental surgery. 4 weeks before the event. In my jaw. And so they took it out, and a week later they said, it's a persistent cyst. We're going to have to go back in and take another millimeter of bone out.
Oh my God.
Oh, 2 weeks before my event, I had a second surgery in the same spot. I was on Vicodin when I was at the event.
Woohoo!
Yeah. So,
we don't need to do that again.
So yeah, I have done it. I have done, but I am a much better team member than leader. I mean, I can do it. It's just where my joy is.
Right. And I think that's important to do what brings you joy. What are you doing during this whole COVID thing to kind of keep your SCA fires burning?
I did, when we had June Fair, since we couldn't have June Fair, I hosted virtual June Fair Arts and Sciences Village, and we had like 4 or 5 people doing demos during the day. That was before we had the account like this.
Mm-hmm.
We did it on Facebook, and and it did okay. It was fine. So we did that. And then I'm going to be teaching at the ITHRA over what was September Crown Weekend.
Right.
Demos. And then before my studio got too crowded out, because I'm waiting for my shed to get here, almost every night I was throwing. When I finally got my kiln hooked up, I was throwing. So I just get on Facebook and go live every time you turn around. Okay, this is what I'm doing. I'm going step by step with whoever will listen to me on how to do the pottery. And when I get my studio back, which should be in 2 weeks, I'm going to do the same thing. Every time I do something, I'm going to be going live on Facebook to show people, because that's where I am, is pottery. That's what I'm doing. I would be, even if it wasn't for the SCA, but a lot of the stuff I throw is for the SCA.
I would love to see you load a kiln and talk about the processes, because that's I have that kiln that you gave me. Mm-hmm. And we still haven't messed with it to get it working. And I want to start doing some pit firing.
Yep.
And I've never loaded a kiln. I've never seen one loaded. Don't have a clue.
What I need to do is I need to get somebody in there to help me film. I need to get my husband in there when I'm doing that, because you're moving around. I have done it, but it's really hard to see because there's a picture of the kiln, there's a picture of me putting stuff in it. It doesn't give you the info you need. So I'll keep that in mind, and I'll make him my cameraman when I'm doing something like that.
I make my 11-year-old be my camera girl when she.
Ooh, there's a thought. I'll get Bridget down there. She'll do it. Even when I'm throwing, I have a place where I set up my little my cell phone right there, and it see me, and you see the wheel, and I'm throwing, but I'm looking there and saying, I'm doing such and such and such. You can't see what I'm looking at. Need the camera to come over and look down.
Yeah, and you almost need like a little GoPro helmet.
Yeah, something like that.
Switch back and forth or something.
Yeah.
So when we can get back together, how do you see what we've done in the interim as kind of segueing into what being in person again?
I can tell you although in-person meetings are great, I am loving the Zoom meetings for the business part of the SCA, for Laurel meetings, not having to travel during the week for a meeting. I mean, I'm all for, we're going to have a weekend meeting. Let's go in person. Let's do that. I want to do that. I need to be with my people. But the online meetings are wonderful. Doing business, we do our monthly business meetings at the Barony on Zoom. I love it because you have to get up and go somewhere. Tends to not attract too many people, so maybe you don't do it all the time, but I do really enjoy not having to, it take, I sometimes have a hard time getting someplace right after work.
Yeah.
Even though I'm working at home, I work till 4:30 or 5 o'clock. And even at that, if I'm in the middle of a project, I keep going because I don't want to start the next day in the middle of a project when I don't know where I'm at. So sometimes it's hard to go someplace. But think something like this, or the business meetings, or even classes online are great. In person is better for some things, but I wouldn't want to lose what we've learned here. We do need the person to person, the in-person stuff. We do need the campfires. We do need the camping. We do need the largesse, and we need the ceremony, and we need all the banners flying. Because that's how we got into this. And it's hard to get enthusiastic about it when you know we're not going to do it for months.
Yeah.
So doing the classes is what's keeping me in it. I'm really looking forward to the September Crown Weekend class because I'm going to set up my wheel outside. I'm going to decorate it. I'm going to, just go as if I was at a demo.
Nice.
That way. I'll probably get my daughter to help me with camera work or something like that.
Very cool. And so anyone who's interested in that, that's watching, that's not from Ontier, on our events page is information for that. And as it gets closer and the schedule gets firmed up, there'll be a schedule to look at. And I know that there are, in addition to all the arts classes, there are a lot of fighting classes as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we actually have a whole pottery thread because I got suggested to one of the potters in the Midwest that they should teach a class.
Oh, awesome.
Morgana's going to be teaching a class. So we have at least 3 potters doing something. And so that's pretty good.
Well, I know what classes I'm going to take. They asked me to teach and I missed the deadline, and the interviews are a lot already, and school starts.
That's the other thing I wouldn't want to lose. These interviews have been fabulous. And I know that perhaps you don't want to do them quite as often because you're keeping real busy, but these interviews are great because we're a big kingdom. You don't necessarily know intimate details about some of the people that we admire from afar.
There are people that are in our circle of laurels that I have no idea who they are. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Because we're so big.
Yeah, it's a good way to learn about people.
And honestly, this is my social life right now. So
I would hate to lose this. I think it should go on. Just you're going to be busy when we get back to doing things in person, so you need to not overdo it.
Yeah. I don't know what it'll look like. My sister has been doing, in addition to our Wednesday night interviews, these Ducal interviews several times a week, and I think it's been a lot.
Yeah. So, y'all are doing a lot.
Yeah.
You may be overdoing it.
Yeah. Me, I'm only doing twice a week, and it's not, but it is, there's a lot of work on the back end of scheduling people. And, I know you.
PowerPoint, huh? You put together a PowerPoint.
Yeah. And I know you, and I know your work. So, and you you sent me all the pictures, so that made it really easy. But I'm going to start interviewing people from all around the country, and I don't know them, which is, I'm an introvert, and that's all kinds of like, and I don't know their work. So it makes it that much harder to know what questions to ask. And so it's a very interesting and fun and challenging journey.
Yeah.
So I'm having a good time. And I hope to continue it because I think, and I should be asking you the questions, not talking about this stuff, but I think one of the things that we really need to work on as an order is our PR, and having people more accessible.
Yeah.
And I think that if you can click on a bunch of interviews on YouTube and see that people are people, and we forget words, and
Yeah.
and
Work on that. The words are there. I'm trying. I want to say, I watched my June Fair video and I was going, oh my God, I know how to talk. I really do know how to talk, but it sure didn't look like it.
I think women of a certain age, it just goes out the window.
You know what I'm trying to say.
It's awesome. Not so much. So anyway, is there anything, excuse me, is there anything else that you want to cover?
Oh,
You want to talk about?
I don't know. I've been thinking about this all week and going, okay, I could talk about that. I could talk about that. And it's like, well, maybe I should have made some notes. Smart. My thing is, I'm getting to the point, I guess it's because of my age, and I don't feel like I'm almost 60. But I kind of understand, how you would see some peers disappear. And you go, why don't those people play more? They have so much experience. Why? I kind of understand it now. I'm tired.
Yeah.
I'm only doing things that I want to do, and I have to not feel guilty about that because I'm just tired. I'm actually enjoying this brief hiatus from the SCA because I just moved into a house and there's things I want to do on that end, and it's come at the right time for me. I hate that it's the reason that we're having it,
right?
And I'm not real happy with the way that not just the SCA but a lot of organizations and a lot of businesses and things are suffering because of the COVID. But me selfishly is I know how much work the SCA is. It's a hobby, it's a game, but it's an intense game. If you want to make it work, you have to put a lot into it.
Yeah, it's a lifestyle. It really is a lifestyle.
When somebody says, "Oh, I have a new boyfriend," I say, "Did you meet him in the SCA?" Because if you didn't, you might have a problem.
Yeah,
it's all encompassing.
It is, and it's worth it. It the support network and the friends and just the amount of knowledge and art teaching that I've gotten out of the SCA. People are so generous with their time and their resources, and I'm very thankful for that, and hope that I'm able to give back enough to, balance everything out.
That's where I'm at. I'm not looking to get things. I'm not looking to get any more awards. My God, I'm my share.
Yeah.
But what can I give back that someone is going to say, hey, I didn't know that. I taught, just here a while back, I taught a head wrap class, just how to wrap your hair up, so that it's out of your way. That's great.
Yeah.
I watched somebody just the other day with doing wrapping and braiding and tying up their hair and went, wait a minute, I can do that. And then I won't have this bulge in the back. So yeah, I learned something new. I need to try that one of these days. It's just all these little things. Oh, look, I didn't know that. I've only been playing for 20 years and I don't ever take that.
I think that's one of the biggest gifts of having students is how much they teach you.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's awesome.
And I do. It's hard work, but then you find out sometimes you try to do shortcuts and things that the shortcuts turn out to be more work than doing it the right way. And that's a life lesson right there.
Yeah.
My first few years, I had a pop-up tent, pop-up day shade that I covered in fabric. Everything was made to fit, even the inside, not a bit of metal showed. That was a lot of work.
That's a lot of work.
Then all of a sudden, finally make my own tent with the poles and the fabric, it's like, God, this is so much less time to put up than what I thought was saving me time.
And ultimately less expensive
And
too.
ultimately less expensive because I got a good place to get canvas by the 100-yard roll. And unfortunately, it's not fire retardant. So now that has changed what I can do. But, you know, it ends up costing me $4.44 a yard.
Oh, that's cheap.
And I have lots of leftovers that I use for a multitude of things.
Yeah.
But yeah, I made like 4 or 5 tents over time, and innumerable awnings, and helped other people do that too. And I don't want to take away from places like Panther because they make great tents.
Yeah.
That kind of money. Um, but the thing is, having that period tent is so much easier than trying to fake it.
Mm-hmm.
Almost anything you do, doing it the right way, it's just so much, ends up being so much easier in the long run.
I'm laughing because my husband, when I had already built a couple of yurts when we built our yurt together, and he wanted to introduce all of these like new technology things. You know, he wanted to rivet this, and I'm like, dude, it's like 2,000 years of engineering. Tried and true, tested. Stop messing with it.
Yeah. They knew what they were doing.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I have kind of a final 5 questions if you want to go into that. And I don't have my list with me, so I'm just going to kind of wing it.
Okay.
The first one is, what is your favorite kingdom tradition?
It's gone now, and I'm very sad. We can no longer say peace to Genaltis
Oh,
because the history is gone. The new people come in have no clue who she was. I never met her. I did not know who she was. I learned who she was at the end of every court when we said peace to Genaltis.
right.
That's sad. That's an old tradition that I'm sorry that's gone.
But it stopped because her loved ones wanted it to stop. So
yeah, I understand that, but the history is gone now, and I think we have a bad time with keeping our history up to date because we don't have a centralized location.
Right. That's another thing that we need. We need, like the West Kingdom has, the history website. And that's part of why we're doing these interviews with a bunch of the Alliance of Ontir, is to get some of that history recorded so that it doesn't go away.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm a big one. I'm a court junkie. I love court. I love the like I said, I love the flags flying and all that kind of stuff. I hate court in the middle of the summer and without any shade, but I do love court. But
we didn't talk about your lauraling and the 105-degree heat.
Oh my God. And I had to wear an Italian wren because I'm an idiot. Our friends had air conditioning in their RV, and I'm so stupid. I said, okay, Ellen, I want a dress. I want an Italian wren. I want boobs to here. And there I am, kneeling in front of Skepti. Like awesome. I think I may have got laureled too soon. I think they made a mistake.
Well, I thought that for years, but I mean, about myself, not about you. Sorry.
I think we streamline courts, though. That's the thing. I think sometimes they're too long. And I know, but I do love court. Love it now because I kind of know who all the people are.
Yeah, that makes a difference. When you don't know what's going on, it's kind of boring. Yeah. Okay, so we got lost there. Sorry. Yeah. Final 5 questions. Unless you want to talk about your lauraling, is there a piece of regalia that you got that you super love, or?
See this right here? This is my laurel. It was made by Mistress Morgana. Morgana, and I don't know if I'll ever turn it over to anybody, but it would only go to an apprentice who is being laureled that is a potter. So yeah, this is my one piece of regalia that I have that I keep. I do have the circlet that I got was made by Master Arontius. I still have it. But I wear this most of the time. and or I will wear the circlet that Tam Laurelyn made for me when I got my court barony, which that was fun. It was in Idaho, and I didn't know anything about it. Of course, I didn't know anything about it. And I understand after it happened that Saruko and Laurelyn we were riding together, and they kept it hidden, and they had to sneak it to Dagmere during the event so that I wouldn't see it because I'm right there. And so it was a total surprise. And I guess it happened just Dagmere had contacted Lauren and said, hey, can you do this for 12th night? It's only a couple weeks before. And it was, I love it because Laurelyn made it, Dagmere and Thorin gave it to me. So, again, they have a special place in my heart because they made that for me. And the cool thing is I got a lovely circlet with little pearls on it. It was just cool. And Eduardo got a court barony the same day, right?
Oh.
Yeah, he got a basket full of oysters for him to grow his own damn pearls.
Because that's super him. That's awesome. So court barony, I had this discussion with some people online. Costco was posting about court baronies, and as I walked back down through the crowd, somebody said kind of under their breath that that's what you get for the kind of service I give, and that my kind of service, basically, when you don't deserve a pelican, you get a court barony.
That is, pardon my French, but bullshit.
Thank you.
No, that is a special gift, a very special gift from the crown to somebody for something. For me, it was for bribing Dagmere. I know exactly what I did. But it was a bribe of love. It was a bribe to the entire SCA that I continue to do, that didn't stop. And I love my court barony. I absolutely love it. It's special. And I already had a laurel at that point. So It's not something you get because you can't get a laurel.
Right.
Something that you get for doing something for the crown. It's the crown's discretion. And it could be for anything. And maybe probably sometime it's just because they're best buddies, whatever. But most court baronies I've seen is people who've done something extraordinary. And it's the only way the crown can say thank you in a very personal way.
And I feel exactly the same way.
Oh my God, I love my court barony.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite things.
I love it as much as the mono, and I love it as much as I love the Maine de St. Nicholas. There's a story. The Maine de St. Nicholas. I am what is it when you're the first person to get the award?
Premier.
I am the premier of the Maine de St. Nicholas. The hand of Santa Claus. Vic and Inga. And Vic made the medallion for me.
Oh.
Because, here's some more largesse. Would you like some more largesse? I mean, this is years of this. And so they created this award, and I was the premier. And I love that. I have a charm bracelet. It's got my mono, my main. It's got my lethal laurel. And it's got my Heart of the Barony of Dragons there, Laurelyn and Arontius gave me, which is like, it's like the Lion of Vontier, but for the Barony of Dragons there. So those are all very special awards that mean something.
They are. The Mono de Oro is once a year, right? It's not even once a reign.
You may not even see that. It is recommended by the Arts and Sciences Minister to the Crown, and it's only once a year, if then.
Right.
I can't remember the last time I've seen one.
I can't either.
The main is given at the Crown's discretion. There could be dozens of them. It's for those people that do excel in largesse in one way or the other. It could be making clothing for the Crown, or it could be
what mine's for, and clothing for the Crown and regalia. God.
Yeah, I mean I love it. I mean it's very special to me, and I got dozens of bountiful hands, but the main came first.
Yeah.
I appreciate the crown acknowledging that. I do appreciate it.
Yeah.
need it anymore. I don't really ever need it, but I really don't need to be thanked so profusely. And I feel like I have been thanked profusely by many, many, many crowns. And, you know, it's like almost embarrassing. It's like, yeah, I know.
Right. And that's not why you're doing
Not
it.
why I'm doing it, because had that been why I was doing it, I've gotten the accolades. I don't need to do it anymore.
Right.
But
You be out. Okay. So number 2 on the final 5 is if money were no object, what tool or material what tool would you buy or material would you work with?
money were no object. Money were no. If money were no object, there would probably be different things I did, because
What would those be?
I would love to go to an archaeological dig and dig up pottery bits and keep them.
So that's my next question.
So if the things I would work with, if money were no object, I would have the most kick-ass studio. But if money were really no object, I would have an SCA site and have a permanent pottery studio that do it for all period stuff, so that the potters could gather there and do their thing. And really going out of bounds, you have the culinary area and the weaving area and the this, and have the permanent village. That's what would be very nice and very awesome.
That's really cool. My big lottery dream, if I ever won the lottery, would be to create a nonprofit modernly that is a studio that disadvantaged people can come and make art and learn art.
Yep.
So yeah, I love that. I would totally back that play.
Yeah.
Okay, and so the next question is, again, money's no object. What museum would you travel to? What place would you go to see the archaeological stuff?
I understand at the Victorian and Albert Museum, you can ask them for a specific time period of pottery and they'll lay the stuff out and you can go and look at it. That would be awesome. I would still like to go to the Bodleian. I would the Ashmolean, wherever that manuscript. And one thing I say is the Bodleian is where the manuscript of Alexander, where the picture of the woman heating food in a pipkin is. I would like to see that. I would like to have a good picture of it. See it, that type of thing.
Yeah, have the guard move you away from the plexiglass.
The thing is going to the places where I can see the research that I've been doing up close and personal, because I can't hold them. Well, I wouldn't be able to hold them there either, but going and seeing those bits and pieces.
That's kind of a big deal.
Museum in Egypt where you will find the St. Minas flasks too, because I've been trying to get in touch with them to tell me what's on the inside. They don't understand. I want you to look on the inside and tell me if it's glazed. So that would be England, and seeing all those museums would be great.
Awesome. And I am blanking on my other 2 questions. I don't remember what they are. Oh, wait, I think I have my paper here. Yes. Nope. Nope. I'm failing. Sorry.
It's okay.
Thank you for doing this tonight.
Thank you. This is exciting. Like I said, I think this is really cool. I hope it doesn't go away. I find that talking in a camera when I don't know that anybody's actually listening, I'm doing it pretty comfortably. So I will continue to do it myself on Facebook and go out there and just talk about pottery. That's what I'm doing these days, just talking about pottery. Maybe about clothing too, because I do have some sewing I need to get done. And I'm doing more and more hand work versus machine work.
And you do beautiful work too.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, you do. Okay, so tomorrow my sister and I are interviewing Casca from Aitenvelt, and we're super excited about that. And then next week, the Laurel interview is Kata, who is kind of Jill of all trades, all things Viking. And she also does some pottery.
Yes, she does.
Some nice stuff. And then next week, Rifkin and I are interviewing Servalora, who's also from, I think, Aitenvelt or maybe Outlands. I don't remember. They're all going to get mad at me for not remembering that.
Yes, right now it's because we're growing in the SCA. That's what it is. We're growing in the SCA.
Well, again, thank you so much.
Thank you.
And I look forward to watching your videos, and I'm going to take your class.
Good, good, good. So Jane's doing agate ware. Is that stuff that if you may have seen some of her posting with multicolored stuff.
Yeah, super cool.
Yeah.
Super cool. Right. All right. Well, thank you. Good night.
Bye.